Rain hammered against iron gates like bullets against stone. A woman stood trembling in the downpour, her worn shoes soaked through, her thin coat offering no protection against the November cold. Emma Lawson was 29 years old, a waitress who counted pennies between paychecks, and she had no business standing before a $500 million estate. But she wasn't alone. Two small hands gripped hers, 6-year-old Lucas on her left, 4-year-old Mia on her right. Their coats were threadbare, their ribs visible through shirts 2 sizes too small, their eyes hollow with the kind of hunger that takes months to carve into a child's face. Behind those gates stretched a world of impossible wealth. Crystal chandeliers glowed through floor-to-ceiling windows. Marble fountains stood frozen in elegant poses. Gardens rolled into fog, like something from a dream. This was the Ashford estate, home to Richard Ashford, tech mogul, philanthropist, the man whose face appeared on magazine covers beside headlines about family values and generosity toward children. Emma's hand slipped into her coat pocket. Her fingers found the silver locket, tarnished, dented, warm from her body heat. Inside it lived 2 tiny photographs and a truth that would shatter everything the man behind those gates had built. Security cameras swiveled toward her, red lights blinking like eyes in the darkness. Thunder rolled across manicured lawns. Her finger hovered over the doorbell. Lucas squeezed tighter. Mia whispered something lost to the rain. Emma closed her eyes, steadied her breath, and pressed the button. Crystal chimes echoed inside, a sound so pure it felt obscene against the storm. Footsteps approached from within. Everything was about to change, but that was only the beginning of a reckoning 3 years in the making. To understand why she stood there in the rain, ready to destroy an empire with a single knock, we must go back to where kindness first took root, in a small diner 3 years earlier, where Emma's story truly began. The sun rose over Main Street like a promise the world couldn't quite keep. Emma Lawson wiped down Formica tables in Rosie's diner, her mint green uniform 2 sizes too big, her name tag crooked. She was 26 then, with hands cracked from dish soap and dreams she'd learned to keep small. Steam rose from coffee pots. The smell of bacon grease hung in the air. She hummed while she worked, a habit from childhood, from 17 different foster homes where humming meant her mother of the month wasn't angry. Emma had grown up in the system, 17 homes before 18, never adopted. She'd learned early that trust was expensive, but kindness was free. So she collected tips in mason jars, put herself through community college at night, graduated with honors to an audience of empty chairs. Now she worked double shifts at the diner, slept in a studio apartment above a laundromat, and sent money to a foster sister with 3 kids. Her bank account stayed thin, but her conscience stayed clear. One morning, fog still clinging to the windows, a woman in a business suit rushed through the door. Phone pressed to her ear, tears streaming down her face, mascara running black. She collapsed into a booth, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Emma watched her for a moment, then quietly slid a slice of apple pie and a cup of coffee onto the table. The woman looked up, startled. Emma smiled gently. "Rough day," she whispered. The woman nodded, unable to speak. Emma squeezed her shoulder. "Tomorrow comes anyway. Might as well have pie first." Then she walked away, gave the woman space to break in private. When the woman left, she tucked a $50 bill under her napkin. A $7 meal paid with $50. Emma stared at it for a long moment, then used it to refill the insulin prescription for the elderly regular who came in every Thursday, but hadn't shown up in 2 weeks because his medication had run out. That was Emma. She believed in invisible threads, that goodness traveled in circles, even if you never saw them close. She had no idea that one of those circles was already spinning back toward her, carried by 2 children who would change everything. But first came the breaking. 2 weeks after the crying businesswoman, Emma's boyfriend of 2 years asked to borrow $3,000. Derek, who talked about marriage and houses and futures. He needed it for a business loan, he said. Just until everything came through. Emma emptied her savings account. Every penny she'd collected in mason jars, every extra shift worked, every birthday she'd spent alone because saving mattered more than celebrating. Derek vanished the next morning. Phone disconnected. Apartment cleared out. She found out later through a mutual friend. He'd taken another woman to Vegas, gambled it all away at blackjack tables while Emma worked double shifts to rebuild what he'd stolen. She didn't cry at work. Couldn't afford to. Instead, she cried in the walk-in freezer between orders, where the hum of industrial refrigeration drowned out the sound of her breaking, where frost formed on her eyelashes, and no one could see her fall apart. Then she'd wipe her face, straighten her uniform, and go back to serving coffee with a smile. A week later, near closing time, a desperate father entered with 2 small children. The man's hands shook. The children's eyes were hollow. Emma recognized that hunger, the kind that goes beyond empty stomachs, the kind that eats at hope itself. She fed them from her own pocket, packed leftovers in containers, slid them across the table with a smile. "Pay me back with a smile next time," she said. The father's eyes filled with tears. He never returned, but Emma didn't regret it. She never would. She had no idea that act of grace was planting seeds that would bloom into salvation. 6 months passed. Spring arrived with hesitant warmth, and then one morning, 2 faces pressed against the diner window. Small faces, desperate faces. A boy and a girl, maybe 6 and 4 years old, with torn clothes and bare feet, and eyes scanning the restaurant like wolves searching for food. Emma's heart clenched. She propped the door open. The children tumbled inside, silent and scared. She sat them in a booth, brought pancakes and eggs and milk. They ate slowly, carefully, like they'd forgotten how food worked, like they expected it to vanish if they moved too fast. Over the following days, they kept returning, always at dawn, always silent. Emma fed them every time, asked no questions, just gave. Eventually, fragments of their story emerged through gestures and whispers. Their mother had died 8 months ago. Car accident. Their father had gone away after the funeral. A grandmother had tried to keep them, then got sick and couldn't anymore. They'd been living in an abandoned warehouse near the train tracks, eating from dumpsters, sleeping on cardboard, surviving the way children should never have to survive. Emma's blood ran cold when the boy finally whispered their last name. "Ashford," he said. "Lucas Ashford. This is my sister, Mia. Ashford. The name on billboards downtown. The tech empire. The luxury hotels. Richard Ashford, the philanthropist who donated millions to children's charities while his own grandchildren starved 2 miles from his mansion." Emma took them to Child Protective Services. The caseworker listened with dead eyes and a tired smile. Ashford? The billionaire. These kids are probably runaways making up stories for attention. Happens all the time. She filed a report, but her tone said she'd forgotten about it before the ink dried. Back at the diner, regulars started talking. She's probably after his money. Gold digger using orphans as bait. Why else would she care? Even Emma's manager pulled her aside. Don't get involved with rich people's business. You'll only get hurt. But Emma looked at Lucas protecting his little sister, at Mia's nightmares that woke her screaming, and she made a choice that defied logic and common sense and every warning she'd ever received. She took them home, enrolled them in school using her address, bought them clothes from thrift stores, fed them from tips she couldn't afford to spend. Watched her savings vanish again, but this time it felt right. This time she was building something instead of being robbed. One night while washing Mia's jacket, Emma found something sewn into the lining. A silver locket, tarnished, dented, heavy with meaning. Inside lived two tiny photographs, Lucas and Mia as babies, chubby-cheeked and loved. On the back, engraved in elegant script, "To Sophia, forever yours, M.A." Mia whispered when she saw Emma holding it. "Mama said never lose it. Said it's proof." "Proof of what, sweetheart?" "That we're real." Emma researched late into the night, her laptop screen glowing in the darkness. She found an old Society page article from 12 years ago. Marcus Ashford, son of tech mogul Richard Ashford, marries Sophia Bennett in private ceremony. But a year later, another article. Ashford family confirms Marcus's estrangement. No comment on marriage status. Then nothing. Sophia disappeared from public record. So did Marcus, like they'd been erased. A week later, a black car with tinted windows parked outside Emma's apartment. Watched for an hour, engine idling, then drove away. Lucas saw it and dragged Mia under the table, both children trembling with a terror that came from experience. "They're looking for us," Lucas whispered. "The men Grandpa sent before." Emma drove to the Ashford estate the next morning, made it as far as the guard booth, explained everything. Two hungry children, their grandchildren, living in poverty while their grandfather lived in luxury. The guard smirked. "Mr. Ashford has no grandchildren. Try your scam elsewhere, lady." Security escorted her off the property. But Emma wasn't finished. She took the locket to a jeweler downtown. The old man examined it under a magnifying glass, noted the serial number inside. Custom work. Expensive. Cartier. Maybe 15 years old. This could be traced. 2 weeks later, Cartier confirmed. Purchased by Marcus Ashford in 2010. Gift to Sophia Bennett. The children weren't lying. The locket was proof. But if that was true, if Marcus had a wife, had children, then why would a grandfather abandon them? Emma worked triple shifts, fell asleep standing up. Her apartment was too small for 3 people, but they made it work. Lucas and Mia squeezed onto her pull-out couch. She took the floor. Mia had nightmares that woke them all. Crying for Mama, thrashing against invisible monsters. Lucas, too young to be so old, would hold his sister and sing lullabies he'd learned from a mother he was already forgetting. Emma taught them to read before bed, watched them slowly remember how to laugh, paid bills she couldn't afford, electricity, food, an emergency room visit when Lucas developed pneumonia that wouldn't break. The debt piled up, but so did the love. Outside, wind picked up. Storm clouds gathered on the horizon. By nightfall, Emma would discover why the Ashford family buried the truth, and what they'd done to keep it hidden. 1 year after Emma met the children, a certified letter arrived. Heavy paper, expensive law firm letterhead. Cease and desist, Ashford family legal team. Stop harassment and fraudulent claims regarding non-existent heirs. Something broke inside Emma, not sadness. Rage pure, clean, righteous rage. She spent her last $200 on a legal aid lawyer who dug through records with the determination of someone who'd seen injustice too many times. The lawyer found Sophia's death certificate. Marcus listed as widower. No divorce record. She was legally an Ashford when she died. More digging revealed a love story destroyed by pride. Marcus had met Sophia at a community college where he taught business seminars. She came from working-class roots. They fell in love anyway. Richard Ashford disapproved, threatened to disinherit Marcus if he married beneath the family. Marcus married her anyway, chose love over money. They lived modestly, raised their children in a small house, Marcus teaching while Sophia worked as a nurse. They were happy in their smallness. But then, Sophia died, and grief consumed Marcus like fire. That's when Richard visited with an offer disguised as mercy. "Let me take the burden of the children. You can recover. I'll take care of them. Then you can return to the family." Marcus, broken and desperate, agreed temporarily. But Richard never intended to raise them. He sent Lucas and Mia to a distant cousin, paid her to keep them hidden, told Marcus they'd been placed with a good family. When the cousin grew tired of the inconvenience, she abandoned them to foster care. And when Marcus recovered enough to demand his children back, Richard claimed they'd been adopted and refused to say where. Marcus had been searching for 8 months. Richard's lawyers blocked every attempt, and Richard told society that Marcus's children never existed, erased them to protect the family image because 2 mixed-class grandchildren would ruin his brand as a champion of traditional family values. Emma stared at the evidence spread across her kitchen table. Lucas and Mia sleeping peacefully on the couch. Finally safe. Finally loved. They'd started calling her Aunt Emma. They laughed now. They drew pictures and taped them to her refrigerator. They felt safe. She made a decision that could destroy her, or save them. Richard Ashford was hosting his annual charity gala in 2 weeks. 500 guests, media coverage, an award for outstanding philanthropy toward children. Emma contacted an investigative journalist whose emails she'd found on a news website. Sent everything: locket photos, birth certificates, Cartier serial numbers, the cousin's testimony, medical records showing Marcus listed as father. The journalist called within an hour. "Are you ready for this? This will explode." Emma looked at the children. They deserve the truth. The night of the gala arrived with storm clouds and cold rain. Emma borrowed a black dress from a thrift store, dressed Lucas and Mia in their donated Sunday best. They looked so small, so fragile, standing at those iron gates with rain hammering down and thunder rolling across gardens that cost more than most people earned in lifetimes. Security tried to turn them away, but this time Emma had a journalist beside her. Camera crew. Lights. Emma spoke loudly, clearly, her voice cutting through the storm. "My name is Emma Lawson. These are Lucas and Mia Ashford, grandchildren of Richard Ashford. For 18 months, while their grandfather accepted awards for helping children, these children starved. I have proof." She held up the locket. Cameras zoomed in. Inside the mansion, guests began to notice. Murmurs spread like wildfire. Richard Ashford appeared at the door, silver-haired, impeccable tuxedo, face carved from stone. Behind him, hundreds of society's elite craned their necks to see the commotion. He looked at Emma with cold contempt. "Those children are not my family." Emma stepped forward, rain streaming down her face. "Then explain this locket. Explain why your son has been searching for them for 8 months while you lied to the world and said they don't exist." A sound erupted from behind Richard. A scream, raw and broken. A man pushed through the crowd, collapsed to his knees in the rain, stared at Lucas and Mia like he was seeing ghosts. Marcus Ashford, invited to the gala as part of his father's attempt at public reconciliation, never knowing his children were alive. He rushed past Richard, fell into the storm, pulled his children into his arms. Lucas and Mia, confused at first, then recognition bloomed like sunrise. "Papa," and they clung to him, sobbing, all 3 of them breaking and healing in the same breath. Cameras flashed. Guests flooded onto the steps. Richard's face drained of color. The journalist stepped forward, microphone extended. "Mr. Ashford, can you explain why your grandchildren were in foster care while you donated?" "Millions to children's charities?" Richard tried to speak, stammered. His lawyer pushed forward, but it was too late. Board members were already on their phones. Society's elite were filming. Someone shouted, "Is this true?" Marcus stood, children in his arms, and faced his father. "You told me they were safe. You told me they were adopted. You lied." Richard's voice was ice. "They weren't suitable for this family." The crowd gasped. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." Marcus's voice broke. "You mean she wasn't suitable?" "Sophia, because she wasn't rich, because she reminded you that money isn't everything. Emma handed the locket to Marcus. He opened it, saw Sophia's face inside, and shattered completely. The journalist displayed documents on a tablet, dates, locations, paper trails proving Richard paid the cousin to hide the children, forged adoption papers, buried the truth. A board member spoke up, his voice carrying across the crowd. "Richard, if this is true, you need to step down. Immediately." The rain began to soften. Richard stood alone on marble steps, his empire cracking around him. His legacy, philanthropy, family values, respect, shattered in real time, irreparable. Marcus held his children, repeating like a prayer, "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I never stopped looking." Emma stood back, soaked and shaking, and suddenly invisible. The journalist approached. "Who are you to these children?" Emma's voice broke. "Just someone who fed them when they were hungry." The thunder was gone, but its echo remained in every heart. The sound of a lie too big to bury, finally dragged into the light. 6 months later, spring arrived with genuine warmth. Emma sat in a small law office downtown, confused about why she'd been summoned. Marcus Ashford was there. So was a woman Emma didn't immediately recognize, then did. The businesswoman from the diner. The one Emma had given pie to 3 years ago when the woman was crying, when Emma's only gift had been kindness and a listening silence. The woman smiled. "You don't remember me. But I remember you. That day you gave me coffee and a kind word. I was about to quit my law career. Felt like a complete failure. Your words helped me stay." She paused. "I'm a family court judge now." Emma's eyes widened. The woman continued. "Marcus has been trying to adopt his children formally, clear the legal mess his father created. I expedited it. The children are officially his again, and—" She slid papers across the desk. "He'd like to do something for you." Marcus leaned forward. "I've established a foundation in Sophia's name. Helping children from broken homes. I want you to run community outreach, full salary, benefits, meaningful work." Emma cried, actually cried. "I'm just a waitress." Marcus's voice was gentle. "You're the woman who saved my children when no one else cared. You're exactly who they need." Richard Ashford had been removed from his company's board. Multiple investigations launched into financial improprieties and ethical violations. His philanthropist image destroyed. News articles everywhere. Billionaire abandoned grandchildren while accepting charity awards. He faced no jail time. Money protected him from that. But his legacy was ruined. Society had turned on him. His name, once synonymous with generosity, now meant hypocrisy. He lived alone in his mansion. Guards, staff, but no family. No one who cared if he woke up in the morning. Wealth without love is just expensive loneliness. Emma visited Marcus's new home one Sunday afternoon. It was modest, warm, full of children's laughter. Lucas and Mia ran to her, hugged her tight, showed her drawings they'd made at school. They called her Aunt Emma, officially now. It was written on birthday cards and school emergency contact forms. Marcus showed her a photo wall, Sophia's pictures everywhere, the children growing up, and one new addition, Emma at the diner, serving pie, unaware she was being photographed. Caption underneath, "The stranger who became family." The locket sat in a frame on the mantel. Once hidden, proof of shame, now displayed with pride. Marcus had added new photos inside, Lucas and Mia today, healthy and smiling and alive. "Sophia would have loved you," Marcus said quietly. Emma touched the frame gently. "I wish I could have known her." "You do," Marcus replied. "Every time you show my children kindness, you know her." Sunlight broke through clouds after morning rain. The earth smelled fresh. Gardens bloomed outside the windows. Emma's foster sister called that evening, crying with relief. Emma's new salary meant she could help sustainably now, break the cycle of poverty that had chased them both through childhood. From storm to stillness, from loss to legacy, a new chapter began, written in the language of second chances. 3 years after Emma gave away a slice of pie and a kind word, she walked through the Foundation's community center. Children everywhere, being fed, tutored, loved. She paused at a window, watched Marcus teaching his kids to ride bikes in the sunshine, watched them fall and laugh and try again. Years would pass. Lucas and Mia would grow older, volunteer at the Foundation, help other kids from broken homes. The cycle of kindness would continue, expanding in invisible circles. Marcus would remarry, a kind woman who loved his children as her own, but Sophia's memory stayed honored. The locket would pass to Mia on her 16th birthday, a reminder that love survives even death. Richard Ashford would live, but alone. No redemption arc. Some betrayals are too deep. But his downfall funded the foundation that would save hundreds of children. Even his failure became someone else's salvation. Kindness isn't weakness. It's the strongest force we have. It outlives betrayal, outshines wealth, outlasts lies. Emma didn't save those children for reward, but the reward found her anyway. Truth may hide, but it never dies. And when it emerges, it brings with it a reckoning that money cannot buy, or power cannot stop. In the end, we are not measured by what we own, but by who we protect when no one is watching. One morning, Emma returned to Rosie's diner. She still worked one shift a week by choice, keeping herself grounded. A stranger entered. Young woman, tears streaming, phone pressed to her ear. Emma recognized that look. She'd worn it herself once. Emma quietly slid over a cup of coffee and a slice of apple pie. The stranger looked up, surprised. Emma smiled gently. "Rough day." The woman nodded, unable to speak. Emma squeezed her shoulder. "Tomorrow comes anyway. Might as well have pie first." The stranger's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you." The camera pulled back. Dawn light streaming through diner windows. Steam rising from coffee cups. Life continuing in small, beautiful moments. Emma wiping down tables, humming while she worked. The circle spinning outward, touching lives she'd never know, creating futures she'd never see. If this story reminded you what matters most, please subscribe, like, and share your thoughts below. I read every comment, and your stories inspire mine. Until next time, remember, your small act of kindness today might be someone's miracle tomorrow. Coffee steam rose. Morning light glowed. Piano music faded. The screen went black. But somewhere, a waitress served pie to a stranger, and the circle continued,